Hello, Dental A Team listeners. This is Kiera Dent, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for being part of my Dental A Team family. I seriously love doing this podcast. I thought I was going to hate it, and I love it. I love it so much because I get to connect with you. I get to hear how this podcast is helping you and your practice be better. So if you have loved this podcast and you are willing to share, I would greatly appreciate if you'll share with your friends, if you'll leave us a review, if you'll give us 5 stars, anything you can do. Just like you guys grow your practices, we're trying to grow this podcast to positively impact the world of dental. This is how we get to grow our Dental A Team family. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoy the show. Hey everyone, welcome to the Dental A Team podcast. We're your hosts, Kiera Dent
and Dr. Mark Costas.
Mark and I had this crazy idea that maybe we could combine a dentist and a team member's perspective because let's face it, dentistry can be a challenging profession with those two perspectives. And Dental A Team podcast was created.
I'm a practicing dentist, a multiple practice owner, a dental performance coach, and the founder of the Dental Success Institute.
I've been a dental assistant, treatment coordinator, scheduler, biller, office manager, current practice owner, and international dental consultant. Mark and I don't just understand you, we are you.
Our goal is to positively impact the world of dentistry by sharing our lessons learned from the road in hundreds of dental offices.
2 perspectives, 1 mission, to help dental professionals reach their full potential. Welcome to the Dental A Team podcast. Hello, Dental A Team listeners. This is Kiera Dent. And guys, it is a good day when Tiffanie Trader is back on the podcast with me. So Tiff, you're driving. I know you're headed to go pick up your little man. How are you today?
I am good. I feel like I'm always driving or on the mountain when we podcast, and I love it because we just find those pockets of time and we use them every time. I love it.
This is literally efficiency at its finest. I told Tiffanie I hope that I die before she does, but just in case that doesn't happen, on her tombstone, we'll write lived my life by efficiency, because even on the road, on traffic, anywhere, if Tiff's efficiency is botched, guys, that is what will send Tiffanie over the edge. So don't botch the efficiency.
It's true. In most cases, if I'm upset, you can almost guarantee that I'm hungry or someone's come into my efficiency somewhere and jammed it up.
But really, the day we realized that, Tiffanie, you said to me, you're right. That is what I do. I mean, if Tiff can get around a red light or she can go a more efficient way, that is what she looks for. And she's always putting little pockets of time. Hey, I've got 35 minutes. Let's do a podcast. Done and done.
True. And I think that that's why I love what we do so much, because I love popping in an office and figuring out what people can do with those pockets of time and where those pockets of time are that they don't even realize they have. It's my 100%. Favorite thing.
I totally agree. So actually, Tiff, I know we just chatted about an idea we do, but I actually want to detour us to breaking up the efficiency. But one of the podcast topics I had wanted to do with you is what is it like to be a consultant and kind of what that world is. And you just literally led right into that. So I think we should talk about that because you're right. Being a consultant, we both look for those efficiency pieces and it is really fun for us. And that's why I think we both do really well at what we do is we're very efficient. We look for it. We can find those little pockets of time. But I think let's give the Dental A Team listeners kind of a glimpse into our world of what it's like to be a consultant, what a day in the life is of Tiffanie and Kiera, minus the fact that we are always on airplanes and we are always trying to pivot at the airport.
Or find a quicker way out of the airport.
Yep. So skip lagged. If all of you want some travel hacks, skip lagged is one of our favorites because it will, especially if you're flying to big cities, usually you can get more direct flights for a lot cheaper. So when I had to fly to Philly, my flight got canceled due to the tornadoes, which was very tragic for the tornadoes, not for my flight. But I'm like, shoot, how do I get to Philly? Skip lag came in, and instead of my ticket being $600 one way, it was $129 because I went from LAX to Philly, and I was supposed to end up in Newark or something, but the layover was in Philly. So yesterday you were sitting in an airport trying to find a faster way home, and
unfortunately Louisville's not a major airport, so there weren't a ton going out under $600.
Darn it.
Yeah, that's okay. I got a ton of work done at the airport.
It's true, and sometimes that is also good. So Tiff, let's dive into what we do as consultants, what a day in the life is of a consultant. So you came on. What were you kind of expecting a consultant life to be? And then we'll talk about what it actually is in reality. So when I told you, hey, Tiff, I want you to be a consultant, what did you imagine that would be like?
the weird part about this, and I'm sure maybe like Danielle and Ashley have a different like viewpoint when we came to them with it. The weird part about it for me is that I literally had no idea. Like my mind was a blank slate, and I've worked with consultants in the past, but there was something about you and like your energy that I knew it would be different. And so I didn't know what to expect, but I knew I was going to love it. And I can say though, that I always try to dispel the word consultant, because for me in my career, I don't remember, I think it's like 16 or 17 years now, something like that, 16. Consultant has always been like a stuffy, dry, like sterile word to me, because I feel like, to me, in my experience, a consultant is like top dog. Like that's your ultimate goal when you're like, especially when you're front office, right?
Yeah,
you're
absolutely.
like, I'm going to be a consultant. They're so amazing. Their life is so lavish, and like they get to do all these amazing things, and they are like top dog. But being the team member, when we had consultants come in, it was really scary, and it was very like, don't step on my toes, don't tell me I'm wrong, and like don't invade my space. And so I think that's the fine line that I knew I'd be running when you approached me, but I had no idea really what it would look like with you, because you felt so much different than everyone I've ever worked with.
Well, I appreciate that, because we do run our consulting program a little bit different. I didn't even know what a consultant should do. I don't think I ever read in the Webster Dictionary, dental consultant should do X, Y, Z. I just didn't know. I hadn't had that experience. I just knew, hey, when I was in an office, this is what I wish I would have had. And I think, Tiff, that's where you and I come differently, of instead of coming in with this rule book or these things that we know will work, we have a lot of ideas. But the reality is every single practice is different. Every single person is different. Every single office is different. No matter if you literally are in the same demographic area, the similar type doctor, your practice is different from practice to practice. And we've seen this. So we have to come up with a customized approach that will get results, that's going to be a ton of fun, and it's not going to be scary and intimidating. So Tiff,
I was going to say, I literally have, I'm going to pop in just to like prove that point to you. Like I literally have 2 offices in Greeley, Colorado, and I know that they're listening because they always do, and I love them.
Shout out to them. They are awesome.
Shout out. They are, both offices are just like 2 incredible practices. They are 7 minutes driving distance apart from one another, and they are 2 polar opposite offices.
Absolutely. They're just different. And so you have to come in with a different approach. So we'll kind of walk you guys through what it's like for us. I'll start on the first part, and then I'll have Tiffanie tell how she goes into an office, because I love how Tiff connects with people, because you're right. Consultants and, when consultants come in, it is that scary, what are you going to do to change me? Like we know you're here and you got to push production. And I think you and I come in with a much different approach. Our whole team comes in with a different approach, but I think we start off on a different foot than, and this is just how we do it. I don't want to compare to other people. We'll just talk about what we do, because I think it's fun for you guys to know what we do. So first of all, we get our clients, and they're given to us. We're real lucky. We work with Mark Costas and DSI. So a lot of our clients are from DSI, but we also are super lucky, and we get referrals, and we appreciate those referrals. Just like you guys in dental offices, referrals are the number one thing for us that we really appreciate, because clearly we did something that changed your world. And Tiff, I think our best compliment we got, I know there was a coaching client that you and I were sharing, and do you remember Christine?
I do.
And what did she tell you? What did she tell you on the calls? I remember there was like a very specific compliment she paid us that I feel encompasses what we try to do.
She gave us a lot of compliments. She was amazing. But she really felt like we connected differently, and that we just kind of hit home. And she felt like when you guys had started out, and she loved it. She said she just felt like you had completely come in and easily changed so many items on the surface to make such a huge difference. Do you remember? I know you're looking for the specific words, and do you remember off the top of your head? I know I sent it to you. You're better at that.
No, you're good. Yeah, she did. Yeah. She said, and she really did come in at this, hey, you guys have delivered more value than any other coach that I've ever worked with in such a short amount of time. And I think it's because, like you talked about at the very beginning, Tiff, we find those little pockets of efficiency. We find those little pieces that aren't hard that will make a huge world of difference, because Tiffanie and I live our lives on efficiency. Like, hey, we're not going to implement, let's do this massively hard project that will not get you any results. Let's find the thing that's going to get you results today, that's going to make your life easier, simpler, and more efficient right now, right here. And that's what we're always constantly looking for. And so I love that, because when we first get clients in, I think that the approach that we take is right off the bat, Tiffanie and I have been team members. That's what we do. That's what we've been. We don't just understand you. We literally are you. We've been in your shoes. We've been that office manager. We've been that treatment coordinator. We've been that dental assistant. And so we actually send out forms to get every single team member to give us input. Hey, here's an assessment. Like, where are you falling? Just so we have a baseline. But then also tell us, what do you do in your job? And if we could change one thing in your world to make your life easier, what would that be? And we send that out to the offices before we even show up to see them. And Tiff, what has been your experience of having those forms go into the offices beforehand?
I feel like I have a better understanding of what I'm walking into and what the office demographic is, because typically it's, pretty across the board, they're looking for the same things. There's like common themes. There's things that are going on. There's common themes of what they love about their jobs and common themes of what they wish were a little bit different. Even if they have like front office, back office divide, which is super common, they are always shocked to know that across the board, they're pretty much the same. One thing I love about those assessment forms is that it really gives us a glimpse into how, mostly for the front office really, but like how divided are their job duties and how much overlap is there, because that's the key to an efficient, especially front office, is to make sure that we're not overlapping each other all the time. And that lets me just like dive right into where their frustrations are coming from.
Absolutely. And you're right. Just like a patient who comes in with, hey, I want to whiten my teeth, but yet you have this bombed out mouth. And so if we don't address their number one concern, then the patient's not going to follow us. They're not going to want to accept treatment because we haven't addressed what they're coming in for. They have a set expectation that we need to meet to get them to follow. And I think, Tiff, we try really hard in my very, my super encouraging and inspiring speech in my sleep. I literally gave this speech when I was asleep, and Jason was like, Kiera, this is what you said. I said, we don't just manage people. We're not managing people. We're managing expectations. And I think it's funny that I said that in my sleep, because that's exactly what we do when we're walking into an office, looking at those assessment forms, looking for the things they're wishing for, what they'd love to change, what they love. That then helps us manage the expectation. Even though you and I might see something totally different than what they're saying, we still will address those concerns, because that's going to help them just feel like they were heard, listened to, and they'll be more receptive to what we implement.
I agree. And I think that's my favorite part about what we do, is that we do not come in and say like, oh, this is what I know works. Yes, I know things will work, but if I shoot for things that you're not even looking for, why did I even come in? So what we do is, like she said in the beginning, every office is so different. And so we come in and we cater to that office. We look at exactly what that office needs in order to feel more successful and be more successful. We don't just say like, every patient has to accept, you're going to slam your schedule and you guys are all going to hate your life. It's more like, no, like why are these things happening? Because they're a byproduct of something not being efficient in the office, or, team members not getting along or something like that. But that's how it's so different for us when we go in. It's about the people and less about the physical building, if that makes sense.
For sure. Exactly. And so just like Tiffanie said, we're really looking to see who are these people, what are their real lives, and how can we create solutions to what's really going on? Not the theory of what will make a practice successful, but what's actually going to work for you guys. And it's different every time. I mean, sometimes we'll walk in thinking we're going to go one direction and we pivot. I say the number one trait that a consultant needs to have is to be able to pivot. We are constantly, you'll walk in and you think one thing and then you're switching to another gear because you realize they don't need that, they need this. And it's a constant pivoting to find exactly what that office needs to have success. So I'd say the first visit, Tiffanie, you do really well. What's kind of your flow when you walk into an office? What is your flow on your first visit that you do, so people really get like an inside scoop of what we do day in and day out?
Yeah, well, thank you for that. First of all, I appreciate that. My first go-to is, first of all, find the people I've been communicating with. Find, the doctor that I've had communication with. Typically, there's an office manager that I've been communicating with before my visit. Find them, settle in, have them introduce me to the team members, and really just dive right in. Try as hard as I can to remember as many team members' names as I can. That's huge. Kiera, you're much better at that than I am.
I just try hard.
You do really well with it, but really just keying in and then finding a way to connect with that person. I try to connect not taking a ton of time. I try to find something that I can connect with each team member on so that I can better understand what their role is and what their job is. If I can connect with them on not so much like personal life, but personally, like she and I or he and I just have this like real live, I can talk to you connection between us, they're going to be more likely to divulge like what would really make your job better. Mm-hmm. I always tell my teams that my goal is to implement. Yes, I implement things, but anything that I implement into an office, and all of my team members know this, my goal is to create efficiency so that whatever we add is not necessarily keeping them there longer. It's actually making their jobs a little easier, taking some things off of their brains so that they can use brain power somewhere else. And my ultimate goal is to create so much efficiency in the practice that they have a work-life balance. They can go home and be with their families. They're not going home and wondering if they remembered to call somebody back or if they did this thing they were supposed to. They're going home and being with their families because, Kiera, I think you will agree with me. Like, one thing we've learned over the last couple of years is that work-life balance is key. And if we can create that in all of the offices that we go into, I think that there's more than just production that we've helped ramp up. We've actually helped their personal lives. And that is 100% my goal every time, to positively impact those lives.
Absolutely, because that's our mission. Our mission is to positively impact their world of dental. And I believe, and you believe, and our whole team believes that if we do it with the individual person, that's a ripple effect that's going to take on far greater influence than we could ever do by just fixing this one practice. And so I love that you said we go in and we connect, we get into your world. But I also feel that we've mastered the skill and we're continually working on it to continually master this. But we are really good because we are not emotionally invested. So we don't know these people. We have no clue. All we do is we're black and white. And so I feel people tell me, I was just in an office the other day and she said, you're really good at reading people. Like, you have me spot on pegged of who I am. And I think that that's an attribute that as consultants, we really hone in on, because if we can figure out who you are as a person right off the bat, and I would say, Tiff, we come in probably like 95% accurate on most people. There's a few people that I'm like, you totally deceived me. Like, that is not who you are. Not in a bad way at all, but like I misread you.
Shock. Yeah,
exactly. But generally speaking, we have people pretty well pegged. We know you're overwhelmed. We know, hey, if you don't hit all the marks, you're going to feel like a failure. This person really struggles because they don't know what we're looking for, or there's just all these little pieces. And if we can dive into that, we then can build customized things that will make you specifically happier, more efficient, and effective in the bigger inner working of the team. And so I almost say, Tiff, I don't know if this is a good analogy for you or not, but when I go into an office, I feel what I'm doing is putting on this mass production. So almost like a play, an event with the orchestra and the actors and the musicians and every single piece of this. I'm working in all this huge thing to put on this beautiful production that is amazing, that everyone knows their role, everyone knows what they're doing, but I'm working with each individual team. So it's this huge production we're putting on when we go into consult, but the individual person does not feel like it's so much for them, and they have their set role of their piece in the production to make the whole thing work together. That's kind of the best way I feel to describe what we do in consulting.
No, I think that's beautiful, and it's so perfect, because I think that no matter what, when we leave, in typical cases, there's not one person that feels like they were dumped on, but there's also not a person that doesn't feel like they were touched in some way. Like, every person feels like we've spent time with them or their department enough that they feel that we've created that orchestra within their department, and they have a huge piece to play in the end production. So I think that's a beautiful analogy. I love it.
Exactly. So basically, Tiff and I will go in, we put these things, we always leave an office with 3 goals. We have 3 overarching goals, and then each individual person knows their role within that time. We always go for 6-week commitments. 6-week commitments, we believe, they say it's a habit's 21 days, 30 days, 90 days. I have no clue how long it takes to make a habit. I think that's just made up. I have no idea. And so we just decided to follow the SRP model. You come in, you do that deep dive SRP, and then in 6 weeks, you follow up with the patient to make sure, hey, they're on track, or hey, these are the sticky spots. Let's work on this so you're effective. And we really go for it that way. And then in 6 weeks, Tiff, you and I figured this out. We used to go back to the office. It was this whole like hoopla of what we do. And now we found we just hop on a Zoom call, and you really helped me understand the Zoom call because we do a 2-hour meeting when we're in the office, get everybody rallied, everybody excited, everybody knows what we're working on, because when the whole team is connected on the same goals, movement and massive progress happens. Otherwise, it's a disjointed production and no one knows who's coming when. Nobody knows what's happening next. But then we check in on those 6 weeks. So Tiff, what does your 6-week Zoom call look like typically for you? Because I think you have this nailed down. You completely spun my brain of how to make these more effective to really deliver awesome value and results.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I think that they were just a huge efficiency model for everyone because by the time we get all the way out there for a half day visit, like it's basically the same amount of time we're spending anyways. And we weren't getting that segregated time with the team. So now we have this separated time. We've got the whole team there for 2 hours. It's video conference. I'm in Arizona, they're wherever they are. And I have them relive with me what we did the last time. So I have them remind me of what our goals were, remind me of what we've implemented. And we chat through, like, how did it go for you guys? How was that 6 weeks for you? And what worked? What went okay? And what straight didn't work for you? And let's figure out why they didn't work. So we can pivot and change. We can adjust the items that we implemented so that they can work better for your team specifically. Or if they were just like so dumb, they didn't work at all, guess what? We can just get rid of them. Totally fine. I've actually never had that happen, but it is always an option that maybe it just doesn't work. So we always go through all of those things. That's our first thing. I want them to remind me what we did so that I can see for sure they actually were doing them and that they remember what they were. Because if I get a team that's like, end of day sheets, like I know you're not turning them in. So that tells the story for the 6 weeks. We review like what happened, what is your production and your collections, your new patients, all the things that we were trying to ramp up with the items we implemented. Did they actually change? We review that. And then we decide, are we going to tweak and change these items and go back to more implementation of what we did? Or can we level up and implement new things? I always like to take what we've done and level them up rather than on the Zoom calls. I try not to implement too much that's like brand new, because I'm not there to make sure that it's working for them.
Exactly.
So whatever it is that we did, I just layer onto it and make it ramped up a little bit more. That's my goal for all of it. And to make sure that the team is still unified, that is huge for me, to make sure that the team is still working together as a solid unit and make sure that we can progress further because there's not a disconnect there.
I love that so much because you're exactly right. That's what we're working on. We want to make sure we're not going back in time. We're not going back to things that we've already done. We want to make sure that we're just adding to or refining the processes we already have there, because I believe that you do not have to do hard things to be a successful, efficient, productive practice. It's very simple things that just need to be done consistently over time. And so for us not to keep like, hey, well, we want to be these awesome consultants and coaches that come in and always give these new ideas so you feel you got the value. It's no, we're actually going to work on the non-sexy things, the things that really are going to make a difference that just need to be done consistently. It is not super fun to eat healthy. It's not super fun to work out all the time until you get into the habit, and then you just maintain that consistent lifestyle and you get the results you're looking for. And so I think the biggest thing for us in consulting, I think hopefully we walked you through the pieces we didn't add on are the hilarious stories of, oh my gosh, we just walked into an office, they canceled all their patients. We have 8 hours of training. That's always that like, oh, and we're going to do this. Okay, let's do 4 hours of handoffs because we really want to dial this in. Or no lunch was scheduled at all. So we've got to just like hammer through it and connect with the lunchtime meeting is like the major connecting point. So definitely. I feel like when you can build a solid connection without that lunch meeting, like you've really done a great job. Or it's, hey, did you know we have 3 practices instead of just 1? Nope, definitely did not know that. Yep. Let's go for that. Or a doctor. There's just so many funny things that happen. Or mine lately have been a flight gets canceled. I mean, I literally had one. I was on the plane, the engine wouldn't work, so clearly that plane's not flying. The other night, the starter went out on the plane, and I'm like, oh, it's fantastic. Like we're not making it today. So what do I do that way? How can I get you guys like, hey, so I'll just
when
call.
You sleep through a flight.
That was Tiffanie. That was definitely. Those are the things. That's the real life. Tiff and I have, we're not going to talk about it anymore. We're just going to do this. We're going to build the book of our life as a consultant and the funny things that happen. But more importantly, I feel the biggest takeaway I have, and Tiff, I want your takeaway, and then I know you've got to go get Brody. But I love in consulting, the reason I do it, the reason I get jazzed and riled is because I love seeing offices grow and progress. Like for me, numbers are a big deal for me. And I love to see those big numbers and those teams hit realities that they didn't know were possible. But more than that, what I love is watching people's lives change and to hear people say, you know, Kiera, I had a completely different experience. I've hated consultants in the past. And when you came in, you made my life so much easier. You inspired me to go somewhere that I never thought I could ever go on my own. And I think and we're talking dentistry. We're going in and we're doing dentistry, and that's our vessel of how we get to these offices. But to really see lives change and to progress and to positively impact those people, that's my why of why we do this and what I think we do differently.
Yeah, 100%. I go in every time knowing that I'm going to change lives. And for me, I think that the dental practice progressing, the production increasing, new patients increasing, whatever the byproduct is, like it's literally a byproduct of changing their lives and their viewpoints. If I can switch their brain from thinking this is just a job, I just get paid to be here and I just need to pay my bills, to like, this is where I want to be. I am excited to come to work every day, and they just are passionate about the place that they work. I know I've done a good job, because I can't imagine getting on a call with you, going to an office, working for Kiera's Dental Consulting and not being passionate about what I do. I am here because I'm passionate about what we do. And if I can impact the lives of the team members to feel the same way when they go to work every day, I know I've accomplished something. And the byproduct is always an increase in productivity at the office.
Oh, I love that, because you guys know I'm obsessed with Tony Robbins. And one of the things he said is you need to have raving fan employees, people that work for you that are just your raving fans. And so for Tiff to just give that of like, she's passionate, she loves what she does, and that's why we get the results we do, it wouldn't come from any other reason. I don't think it's me. I know I'm just really good at finding people that resonate with the core values that I have, and they're totally passionate, because that's what gets the results. That's what changes people. I mean, you could put the same person in saying the same things, but if they're not passionate behind it, they're not excited, they're not driving your practice, they're not driving your business, you failed. I feel if you don't have those raving fan employees and people that work side by side with you. So Tiff, I know you've got to go. Thank you so much, guys. I hope you loved seeing a day in the life of a consultant, because that's what we do every day. That's what we love to do. And hopefully something in there sparked your brain to think of what you're doing to impact the people you're working with day in and day out as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me today. This was so much fun. Made my drive so much more fun.
Good. Well, we'll catch you on the next snippet of time you've got between the two of us. We'll coordinate. All right, Dental A Team listeners, thanks so much for catching us on another episode, and we'll catch you next time. And that wraps it up for another episode of the Dental A Team podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.